is power, and this is powerful stuff. Wellness Education Cannabis Advocates of Nevada present the We Can 702 Nevada Cannabis News Hour with the We Can radio team. For the next 60 minutes, we'll take an in-depth look at the cannabis reform revolution sweeping the nation. Now, let's fire up the news hour. Here is the We Can radio team.
Welcome to the Nevada Cannabis News Hour. I'm your host, Kurt Dukoch. Today in the studio, I have my guest, or co-hosts, I should say, Michael McCullough and Barry Heichu. And behind the boards, we got Beth making us sound great, and John behind the video there making us look great, or try to make us look great, I should say. So we're coming to you live from Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corp. If you're looking for our show, it's at WWDBTV.com. And go to the D-Day page and listen to us live. So let's start off with a little local news. Big hubbub about the newspaper, huh?
Yeah, there's been there's been a lot of back and forth discussion on this issue. Last week on June 7th, the Las Vegas Review-Journal posted an editorial, an unsigned editorial, meaning it was likely written by the entire editorial board, or that had input, and it was entitled "Pot Legalization is a Bad Bet for Nevada." And I won't subject you to the whole awfulness of it, but you know, they say that in a freewheeling state known for legalized gambling and a lax approach to prostitution, recreational weed comes with health, safety, and social costs that make legalizing marijuana a dangerous proposal for Nevadans. They say that legalizing weed would jeopardize the health of countless Nevadans, expose more people to drug abuse and addiction, put excessive stress on the state's healthcare facilities, and do little to relieve the state's bloated prison population. Wow, what a load of crap that is.
Yeah.
Pick apart every single one of those.
And they used to say that you know, smoked marijuana is bad, and how can medicine, how can you be putting something into your body medically when you're smoking burning leaves? And so it used to be smoking that's bad. Now the RJ has stretched it that marijuana contains nearly 500 dangerous chemicals when inhaled or ingested. So now they're saying, and they're talking about 5 times more tar than in tobacco smoke, but if you're eating it, you're not getting any of that potential tar where it would do harm in your lungs. It's just going to pass out through your digestive system. They're also saying that it causes cancer, when we all know at this point that cannabis has very strong anti-cancer properties, and they say it causes irreversible brain damage. What do you think they mean? Dope.
No, I'm not quite sure.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. It's hard to listen to, and
it is. But I got just a little bit more, because I'm not going to read the whole thing, because they come up with the same old tired trope that marijuana is both addictive, claiming that 1 in 10 people is going to get hooked on it. We know it's not physically addictive, and people can become psychologically dependent on anything, on chocolate, on wine, right? But they say it's a gateway to more deadly drugs.
You ever see anyone going through caffeine withdrawals?
They have the jitters
not happy.
too. No, they're not happy. But the thing about this is, everything that they're saying here is patently untrue, and yet there are so many people out there who believe anything that they read in print, and the RJ's target audience, these editors seem to think that that's what's going to happen.
well, who gets the newspaper anymore?
I do.
No, yeah, but the majority of people that are in print are older people that are home, have time to sit and read the newspaper, and through their day.
Personally, I think that the RJ is a great and valuable resource when you're training puppies in the house. You can't have enough of those Sunday RJs around. So
yeah,
I just think it's disappointing that there's no accountability. Like, they can just publish this stuff and it's blatantly false.
Yeah.
There are no consequences for it whatsoever. There's really nothing we can do at this point because it's owned by one man. There is no board of directors we can go to bring our issue up to. One guy owns the whole the whole shebang, and it's kind of they fired John Smith, the best editorial reporter they had. I'm not going to get into it. It's just terrible. It's just gone in a really bad direction.
They don't want free thinkers there. They want people that are going to publish stories that push their own agenda.
Exactly.
And
that's not what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
The media is supposed to be the check and balance for government and for society. It's not supposed to be helping the bad guys.
I agree with you to a point. When you have a reportage piece, when they're reporting the news, they are supposed to be fair, not unbalanced, but they're supposed to be accurate. They're supposed to relay the facts as they know them. The thing for any publication, the editorial page lets them wax poetic and say whatever they want to say.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And so the RJ, prior to last December, when they were taken over and bought out, they were very libertarian on this issue, and they said pot legalization is a good idea. It will bring in revenue, it will do less harm, it'll take it out of the criminal market, and since December they've done a 180.
I think it goes back even further than that. I think the Review Journal has shown historically throughout the previous ballot initiatives and previous
they were opposed to those ballot initiatives back in 2002 and 2006.
But then they turned around after that for the last one. Like after basically 06, 07, they've been fairly supportive of it.
Yes, they have.
They even had a section, the Pot News.
Yes, they did.
Oh, right,
which
on their website.
Went away after the new management bought it.
But in all fairness, this it wasn't on the front page. It was on the editorial, but it was on the front page of their Facebook page.
It was on the front page of their online edition, and it generated so many comments and complaints, hundreds of them, that the RJ editorial board removed it.
Yeah, they took the Facebook link down too.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly fast how quick it went up and down. Just an overwhelming public response. That shows that we're on a good track, though. I mean, if the public is so in our corner on it, I mean, I keep thinking, we're in big trouble. We're not going to get the legalization. But man, after I saw that, it really gave me a little bit of hope.
Well, there's a criminal defense attorney in town by the name of Christopher Tillman who wrote a good counterpoint to that actually got published on the letter to the editor's page. And he's saying that this is reminiscent of reefer madness type propaganda. He says the half-truths in the editorial are frankly insulting. And yeah, I would agree with that. He says, contrary to what's expressed in the editorial, marijuana is not a gateway drug, and this has been disproved repeatedly. Likewise, it does not cause cancer, mental illness, birth defects, or irreversible brain damage, as was opined. Additionally, it's not physically addictive, and there has been no documented overdose death from its use. That the half-truth that the savings that the taxpayer to the taxpayer will be negligible, considering that there are only 90 state prisoners. Because in the editorial they say there are only 90 people in the Nevada state prison system for pot, and so therefore that's such a small number that it doesn't make any difference. But if you take 30,000 a year times 90, you're up to 2.7 million a year.
Well, I find that number might be skewed too. Because is that counting the people that are back into prison on parole or probation, breaking probation?
Is that just does the city and county jails, do the city and county jails go to the state system?
So
I have no idea as to what happens there. One would presume on the standard basis that what they're talking about are convictions for possession of cannabis.
Some sort of
not trafficking, not dealing, but straight possession.
I noticed on your page there it was talking about them trying to reference marijuana as a gateway drug, but we on the show here have talked about this numerous times about how we've seen evidence to the fact that marijuana can be a gateway out of hard drugs if used appropriately.
Indeed, it is.
And I don't really appreciate when people attempt to continue this narrative that pot is going to lead people into worse things in life. I've never really seen that I've never seen that direct evidence. People have addictive personalities and get addicted to things like gambling and cigarettes and collecting cars, even porn, whatever. Well, I think Utah actually just passed an anti-porn law because they were calling it a public health crisis and all kinds of nonsense. But still, like you said,
don't go out in Utah without a raincoat.
No kidding. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like we're just going to have to continue to push the education and try to get people to see the truth. And I know it's kind of a hard thing. People think, oh, that's a stretch, a gateway out of hard drugs, but I swear it's real. I've seen it.
We've spoken to so many people, especially veterans, and over the years I've run into any number of medical patients who had harder substance abuse, and they have repeatedly told me that cannabis helps wean them off of those substances, keep them off of those substances. So, you know, saying that pot is a gateway drug is a half-truth, because it's not a gateway into harder drug abuse. It's a gate that swings out of harder drug abuse and gives people safe harbor and refuge. And so the RJ here is playing fast and loose with their perceived version of facts, and it's just not the real story.
I want to pose a question to both of you real quick. Senator Sigerblum, our godfather here,
our good friend Tick, friend of the show,
someone asked him at a fundraiser once, he said, what do you think about Sheldon coming out against, Mr. Adelson coming out against the marijuana ballot initiative? And he just kind of chuckled and laughed, and he said, I hope that he does, because his public perception is so negative that the ballot initiatives that he supported in town usually fail because people really don't like him. So I want him to continue to try to push this personally so that the public rejects that. Do you believe that the public could find some kind of anti-Sheldon Adelson voice here in some way just because of what he pulls, or do you think that his public perception is going up because he's trying to bring the Raiders to town? Or
I think there's a good possibility. The electorate this year is very unsettled and unhappy in a lot of ways. They're anti-incumbent, they're looking for change. You look at the anti-politician Donald Trump, who has won the nomination. So I would say that the electorate is unhappy with the status quo, and in this sense, Sheldon Adelson represents the status quo.
It's not necessarily a personal thing; it's a societal thing.
Yeah, you know, you could say that he is an unpopular guy, yet people still fill his casinos here in Macau,
sure,
wherever.
Sure.
So he's not so unpopular that they'll patronize another place instead.
To be fair, though, he doesn't operate locals casinos.
That's true. That's true.
And has he done any of this in the states that he has his casinos in?
Well, you know, the odd thing about him is he seems to be of two minds, because during the last election cycle, when they had a medical marijuana initiative in Florida, Sheldon Adelson spent about $2 million opposing that. And even though it got 57% of the vote in favor of it, Florida had a 60% threshold. So unlike any other state where the majority means 50% plus one, in Florida's system, that means 60% plus one. But while he was funding the prohibitionist campaign, he was simultaneously funding research on medical marijuana in Tel Aviv, at the University of Tel Aviv. And
really?
So, you know, it's really a strange dichotomy there.
That's very strange. I heard also that he was applying for a gaming license in Florida, or maybe pursuing one also, and I don't know if that has anything to do with why he put the money down there, but you know, it's just one of those. It's just one of those conspiracy theories people are putting out there.
He would find a friend in Governor Rick Scott of Florida, so you know, that wouldn't surprise me. You know, any business wants to expand.
But from what I've been told, you know, see, this is another thing me and you were talking about. Is it really Sheldon, or is it his wife that's pushing this narrative? Because if he's giving money over here to the Israelis to push medical marijuana, you know, like I said, who knows what it is, and it doesn't really matter at this point. We just have to continue to push the educational narrative, I suppose.
And you're right about his wife. Tragically, she lost a child to drug abuse, and that was hard drugs. It had nothing to do with cannabis whatsoever. But as so many of the prohibitionists do, they lump everything together and say that you know, pot is as bad as heroin, is as bad as meth or anything like that. And so there, even though there's no basis for that, there are a lot of people in the substance abuse treatment industry, in law enforcement, in various in incarceration, for-profit prisons, who stand to make a lot of money if pot stays illegal in these various places. And so you will find that they are without scruples, it seems to me, when they will go and latch on to a grieving mother and fill her with all of this phony crap and get her ire up and misdirected. So I don't even know if I would blame her as much for this as the people who are putting these words in her ears.
Fair enough.
So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and well, another nice thing, I noticed that after the Review Journal came out with their articles, that the Sun started publishing, kind of firing back at them, and would you say a little bit, you know, they put some pro-cannabis articles out themselves.
Well, the Sun has always been editorially different than the RJ. The RJ has traditionally been more of a conservative, right-wing publication, whereas the Sun has been more progressive and liberal. And so it's not surprising to see that happen. And the Sun published a list last week of about a dozen present and former state lawmakers who said they're supporting this initiative and they're going to vote for it. And they put an editorial out on Sunday, in their Sunday edition, by Pat Spearman, and she says, I am a Nevada state senator. I served for almost 30 years in the Army Military Police Corps. I am an ordained minister. This is her speaking. I believe marijuana use and possession should be legal for adults, and its production and sales should be registered.
Wonderful.
You know, and so
wonderful. I'd like to see more ordained ministers push the narrative, push that conversation, because I feel like a lot of pre-existing religious dogma, or the perception that their religious dogma withholds them from supporting the marijuana initiative, needs to be addressed, because, you know, like I said, religious groups basically push societal standards in America and have for hundreds of years. It's imperative that they're educated, or at least willing to talk about this issue. And for now, you know, they're not so. You don't see a lot of religious types talking about this very much. Very, very, very few, and very not so often.
The last time around that we had an initiative like this, in 2006, a couple of months before the election, there was published a list of people of the cloth, whether they be clergy or nuns or whatever, who were out in support of this. And it was about 3 dozen people on that list. And so there was tolerance, there was support for it, but you're correct in that the overwhelming number of people who have taken up the faith as their means of, as their calling, are against this. They're very socially conservative, and what they're doing, though, is largely in error, because they are comparing cannabis with alcohol. And if you were to read the Bible cover to cover, Genesis to Revelations, you are not going to find cannabis mentioned at all. In the old Talmudic texts, there is a reference to cannabasum, the holy anointing oil, which is made with cannabis as one of its ingredients. But in the Bible itself, there is no mention about cannabis whatsoever. There are a couple of mentions about wine or alcohol, but people have taken those mentions and transferred it onto this subject.
Well, they perceive it as an evil thing. My mom lives in Alaska, and she was talking to some people on an online forum. Like, she's really strictly conservative, evangelical Christian, and she smokes cannabis, and, you know, it's recreationally legal in Alaska, and she is just very disappointed with the vibe that she gets from these online forums. Basically, the consensus is that if you smoke cannabis, you're going to go to hell. And that is outrageous, because I truly feel that if there are people doing God's work, it's people like marijuana activists doing their thing, trying to put themselves out there, putting the risk of their freedom and their family's freedom and the risks of, you know, burning relationships with people and job opportunities and things like that in order to help people acquire their medicine. If that's not God's work, I don't know what is.
I agree. And the very concept that you mentioned, that they say cannabis is evil, or anything is evil. Would you consider strawberries to be evil?
Well, I suppose if you were horribly allergic to peanuts or
I was
something.
going to say, if
But-
I was to consider any plant evil, it'd be something like poison ivy or poison oak.
The reason I say that, though, is because although, we love strawberries on our shortcake and our ice cream, however we want them, the migrant laborers who are forced to stoop over every day, 8-10 hours a day, they call it the devil fruit.
breaks their back.
Even though they're eking out a living from this, yes, it breaks their back and it takes a toll on them physically. I don't believe that anything out there, any natural substance is evil. Just the way I
Is
don't
that kind of
believe
like the free
dogs or
trade-
cats are evil.
Like
even
the
though I
free
don't
trade
like
chocolate
cats.
thing or the blood diamonds thing. It's like you have this chocolate and you're like, oh, it's delicious, but the people over there in Africa who are making it have probably never even tasted a refined chocolate bar in their entire life and make next to nothing. And, in that perception, it probably is probably a
But
kind
it's
of a
not
bad
the
thing.
substance or the animal
No.
that is evil. It is what people do with it.
Right.
That makes the difference. And those perceptions do change.
All right, and with that, it's time for us to take our first break, and we'll be right back. Nevada Pure is a premier, vertically integrated medical marijuana enterprise which offers top quality medical marijuana, great customer service, and a safe, private environment. We carry a wide selection of medical cannabis strains. Our knowledgeable staff will assist you in finding the correct strain for your condition. Our trained professional staff can educate you on various strains for your condition, methods of consumption, responsible cannabis use, and the wellness benefits of cannabis. We aim to help patients achieve a better quality of life. Medical marijuana is a medicine, not an intoxicant. It's about a patient's well-being at Nevada Pure. From the moment you make an appointment with us, your care, health, and well-being is our priority. Nevada Pure is located at 4360 Boulder Highway, Las Vegas, Nevada. Check out their entire menu at WWW.NevadaPure.com.
Attention medical marijuana patients. Did you know that your medicine could contain pesticides, heavy metals, and even mold? Are you really sure that you're getting the same potency every single time? Well, the answer to that question is simple. DigiPath Labs. DigiPath Labs is a state-approved laboratory run by scientists. So look for the DigiPath Labs quality seal on your next medicine and on the door of your favorite dispensary. To learn more, go to digipathlabs.com. That's DIGIPATH labs.com.
Hi, I'm Armin Yamanijan, CEO of Essence Dispensaries, and I'd like to let you know a little bit about our company. As a completely complimentary service, our on-site nurse is here to meet with any patient or non-patient to discuss dosing and best practices. We have 3 convenient locations. We have one location on Tropicana between Decatur and Jones, which is our west side location. Our Henderson location is on the corner of Sunset and Green Valley Parkway, and we're proud to announce that we have the first and only dispensary on the Las Vegas Strip, on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara. Our prices are the lowest prices in town and the highest quality medicine. Please come and see us at one of our 3 convenient locations or visit us at essencevegas.com. You can also call us at 702-978-7575. Once again, the number is 702-978-7575.
Getting Legal offers an informative and simple way for you to get your marijuana card. Why come to Getting Legal to get your marijuana card? We have a 99% approval rating and the lowest price in town. Avoid legal problems. Getting Legal can get you legal fast. Ready for a new start? Come in now and get relief from your chronic conditions affecting your quality of life. Call Getting Legal today at 702-979-9999. That's 702-979-9999. Or visit our website at gettinglegal.com to get your marijuana card today.
You're listening to the Weekend 702 Nevada Cannabis News Hour. Now, here again, the Weekend Radio Team.
Welcome back to the Nevada Cannabis News Hour, coming to you live from the studios at Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corp. So, we were just talking about the debate going on between the newspapers, and we were talking about Pat Spearman at the Review Journal. She sounds like a great guest.
State senator.
Or state senator, and she published in not the
in the
Journal.
Sun.
Yeah, she sounds like a great guest. Maybe we should reach out to her and try to have her on the show.
Absolutely, we can get her
I would
on.
love to. I'd love to hear some more of her opinions. So, with that, there was another article that came out in the Sun about the lawyers.
Yeah, it's entitled "With State and Federal Marijuana Laws in Opposition, Attorneys in Nevada Waiting to Exhale." And basically, the Nevada Supreme Court is considering revisiting and revising their rules of professional conduct for attorneys by adding a clause saying that the sale or use or possession of marijuana, even when allowed by state laws, is prohibited by federal law. And I got to say right here, any attorney who doesn't know that shouldn't be able to pass the bar to begin with. I don't know why we need the Nevada Supreme Court to
clarify that. Yeah,
you know?
no kidding.
But what they do say
Tell me the sky is blue next.
besides being prohibited, it could result in misconduct actions. And so the court is seeking comments, and they're going to schedule a review at 1 p.m. on July 7th. So if you want to go down and make your comments heard, what we'll do is before then, and on our weekend website, we will post the location of this to see whether it's going to be a serious effort at looking at the issue or just another clown car show. We'll find out. The hearing was requested by the State Bar of Nevada, seeking guidance from the court on the role of attorneys in the industry under its rule of professional conduct. And I think that's in part because of the way this law was rolled out. It was the wealthy or the politically connected who stood the best chance of getting licenses, and attorneys often fall in both of those classes.
Yeah,
attorneys ended up owning a lot of pieces of these dispensaries.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're looking at here. They're like, can these people own a part of a dispensary?
Well, the lawyers are cleaning up. The lawyers cleaned up better than the business owners, for sure.
Yeah,
there were lawyers who ended up with 6-figure checks and 10% of the business.
Yeah, but now you have the lawyers are fighting back, and they're saying, why didn't you do this like you did with the casino workers and the people in the alcohol industry?
Issue guidance beforehand.
Before they went all in or invested, 6 figures plus into this.
They talked about this a little bit, but it never really went anywhere. I remember hearing discussions about this, like whispers of this issue coming out when the bill was being thrown out there in 2013, but there was talk of it, and then here we are all these years later now. It never came to a head until recently.
Well, one local lawyer, Gary Schnitzer, is a minority owner in Oasis Medical Cannabis Dispensary, and he said he has sunk 6 figures into the opening and operating of the legal store. And even as a minority owner, I can absolutely see that, because I know of any number of people who are licensees who are spending 6 figures into 7 figures to get this thing going. And he says that the timing of the state bar's recommendation to review these policies is odd, and it's unfair, saying that it should have been figured out in 2013, as you were just saying, before the licenses for the new dispensaries were issued. He says because of this threat of sanction against the attorneys, they will feel compelled to liquidate, and that means they're going to have to sell at a cheaper price, because everyone knows if you're forced into selling, you're not going to be able to hold out for top dollar. So it's a really
goes against
crazy
the principles of free market capitalism.
It does. These law license holders who are trying to hang on to their dispensaries could face any punishments based on the severity of their misconduct, and the misconduct here is not state level misconduct. Everything that they would be talking about potentially is allowed and administered by the Division of Health, but because it's federally legal, somebody could make a complaint and these guys could face sanctions over it.
So does that mean that the court themselves would go to the federal government and ask them to look at this, or are they just kind of issuing guidance in case the feds were to come? I don't exactly understand where they're going with this. They're basically shadowily threatening these people.
Yes, they're saying
actually, it's not so subtle. Actually, they're directly threatening them.
They're saying make a choice. You got one or the other. You can either keep your law license.
Okay, well, that's a very nice way of putting it. I perceive it as a threat.
The dispensaries,
and that's exactly what happened with the Gaming Control Board in 2013. They said if you're going to own a casino, you're not going to own an MME, or vice versa.
Yeah, right as people were starting to cut checks for the investments and things like that.
That one messed up a couple people, but at least they didn't let it get to this point where, I mean, they've
that would have been a
in this
nightmare.
ride
Oh
now
my
for,
God.
what, 2 years, almost 3 years for some of these companies to get open, and these lawyers have been riding this ride, and
Okay, so answer
now
me this.
somebody to come and yank this out from underneath
Answer
their
me
feet.
this: the gaming control issue was a front page article. No one seems to care about this. It's buried. Why? Why is it a
people
public
don't like
perception against lawyers? Is that what it is? Or
Well, it's not against lawyers per se, but are you really going to walk into your lawyer's office and say, oh, geez, I've got such chronic back pain, and he's going to say, here, have 2 joints and call me in the morning. Do is it really, are the lawyers the best ones to make your medical decisions for you? And granted, they're just coming in and investing in these places, but it's that public perception that that they want to get their hands into everything.
yeah, but why
so that's
was
why
it such
I think there's not a lot
Are
of
gaming
sympathy for
operators
them.
the people who should be opening dispensaries if we're going to go that way? And why I said, why was it such a big deal? You know what I mean? What the hell do gaming operators know about cannabis? Mostly nothing, except they don't like it.
And exactly. And lawyers are something that's needed in a cannabis business. So for a lawyer to be on your board or get shares of interest in your company, maybe even for some trade for the services for the company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But not a single dispensary that I know of is using one of their partners to do their legal representation. They're all outsourcing it to other people.
Is that the old saying? Even a lawyer who uses himself for a lawyer has a fool for a lawyer.
Has a fool for a client.
Or
Yeah.
fool for a client. Yeah,
Yes.
fool for a client. Sorry, I'm trying.
No. But you've got the right
Got the
idea
idea.
there. So we're going to see where this goes. This is the Nevada Supreme Court is a very conservative group of justices, and as I'd mentioned in a previous show, I had seen Justice Hardesty at a hearing a few months back, and he wanted to know if people were complaining to the Division of Health that marijuana edibles were making them hallucinate, and so
This is on the Nevada Supreme Court.
yes, and
That's kinda scary.
He's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
That's kind of scary. How? Okay.
Well, it just shows we're not really doing enough in our quest to educate people in Nevada.
we
about
don't
cannabis.
have edibles strong enough in Nevada to do that yet.
That's exactly true. Because what happens is, although the limit for cannabinoids in edibles is higher in Clark County, the city of Las Vegas took a very restrictive view of that, and because all of these producers want to be able to sell to the widest possible market, they're limiting to 100 milligrams what they're putting in each of these edibles, and that just means people are going out and spending $20-30 on an edible, and that instead of lasting them 6 doses, it may only last them 2 doses.
Yeah,
or 3
they're
doses.
definitely not strong enough, but in the county they have 320 milligram chocolate bars available now. The price on them is, kind of high.
Yeah.
Used to, you're going to pay $45 for that candy
You see,
bar. So.
when I was working
But-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
But at least we don't have an all-out war on gummy bears like they're having in Colorado. I mean, July 1st, you can't even buy just gummy bears. All the other candies and all that stuff is fine, but you will not be able to buy gummy bears.
They have gummy
Because
crack for
children
kids
have a
now.
propensity to eat worms or something like that.
Well, no, that's nonsense. They have gummy version of like
Yeah.
Adderall and
exactly.
Ritalin for
Yeah,
young
gummy
kids.
speed for kids
Yeah, they
now.
have gummy speed, but gummy cannabis for adults is somehow illegal. This is ridiculous.
Well, this is another trope of the prohibitionists that is disprovable in scientific fact. They're saying that you can't make these edibles where they're attractive to kids because kids are going to use them, and you're going to have more kids going to the emergency room and this and that. But in fact, state after state where you have medical cannabis use, you have lower incidence of
yeah, there's
underage use.
There's an article here. One of these articles we have references that.
Yeah, the changes in state marijuana laws associated with declining teen use. So, and that was coming from actually the deputy director of NORML, Paul Armatino, put out a statement saying the passage of statewide laws regulating the consumption of cannabis by adults and or qualified patients is not associated with increased rates of teenage marijuana use. And according to a statistical analysis of results from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention's 2015 Risk Behavior Survey. So they the CDC reported that percentage of the high schoolers ever having used cannabis fell from an estimated 43% in 1995 to just under 39% in 2015.
He was talking about this last week, the forbidden fruit thing. Once you take it away, it's not a big deal.
Absolutely, and that's the study I was referring to showed that from 2003 to 2012, teen use of cannabis actually went down, and that coincided with increased availability of medical marijuana, and once again, not being the forbidden fruit. If it's on grandma's coffee table, you know, it's not that cool.
It's normalized, yeah. We were talking about how expensive these edibles are at the local shops, and that's what's preventing me from purchasing the edibles, because I can get them from a gray market guy twice as strong for half the price, and it's just the market hasn't gotten there in Nevada yet. It will, but example, when I was working at the store in California a long time ago, we had a company called, I've talked about them all the time, Kurova used to make these, they called them the black bars, the big brownies that had like 100 milligrams of CBD and 1,000 milligrams of THC, and we would sell those for $40, like as soon as we got them in, they go right out the door because people just couldn't get enough of them, and like that's kind of the price point where we need them at eventually to be able to get people to use these. Not so, like I said, there's a lot of tar involved with smoking. Like we need to get people the availability because it's just too expensive now. You're not going to go into the store and spend $30 on a pack of macaroons that have 100 milligrams of THC in them. I'm not going to do it.
Well, they now have the baker's batches. You can buy an ounce of the high end trim, the sugar.
Yeah,
I've
heard that.
And it's like $100 to $120
yeah,
an
depends
ounce.
on
you know,
where you get it
I've
from,
seen them down as low as 80, and you can use those to make your own edibles at home. I mean, that's the way
I appreciate that, by the way, that they're pushing that stuff out like that so people can choose to do it themselves.
They even have the butters. You can buy the butters, sticks of butter already now. You can buy coconut oils. You can buy olive oils now.
That's
so
awesome.
The stuff that's coming out, I mean, there is stuff to make your own. I mean, but you can also buy the flour at the discounted rates and make your own butters and own
Except
oils.
that that's not legal to be making an extracted or manufactured product in the state of Nevada.
I fully believe that their intent on that law was to stop open blasting and things that are a danger. I don't think that they're going to come into me as a patient and give me a hard time about making my own caramels or my own chocolates or my own cookies at home for my own use, because they would look mighty bad doing that when there's people out there openly selling all over the place.
Unless you just happen to be a really out there activist who was just annoying them and they wanted to mash down upon you regardless of whether they actually wanted to get a
That tends to happen.
I can assure you it does. One of the things we're talking about, these higher prices. One of the things that really surprises me, in 2009, 2010, when I had my dispensaries in Colorado and here in Nevada, I had a company up in Colorado where we used to get these little candy dots that were, I guess maybe the size of a quarter and half an inch high in the middle, and I would buy these things, and they were all canna infused. I would buy them for $1 a piece, and you'd mark them up to $5, not really selling them there, but somebody's coming in, getting this, getting that. Here, have a few, and they were remarkably inexpensive. So now I see the prices of edibles here in Nevada and in other markets have just kind of skyrocketed, and I wonder how much of that is due to Nevada has some of the tightest regulation and testing standards in the country. So how much of it is added expense due to that?
The flour's cheap, though.
Yeah, and you got to figure on the production end of it, a lot of the times it has to be tested twice. So you're paying $600 to $1,000 per batch for testing. That's for every 5 pounds you have tested. And say you want to infuse it into something, they have to test the flour, then you have to make your thing, then they take a batch of that and they test that again. So you're basically paying for testing on an edible twice. And it's not cheap. You're paying almost $1,000 per every 5 pounds just for testing.
And that was actually as this industry got started last year, where initially our friend Tick Segerblom said, grow as much as you can as a patient and then do your one-time sale into the dispensary.
I remember that.
Well, for a lot of people, though, the county took the line that no, 2.5 ounces is the limit. So for a patient to try to go into a dispensary and say, here, I want to sell you this 2.5 ounces,
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it because of the testing. You would have to test each batch just as if it were a 5-pound
That
lot.
really kind of pissed me off. That sucked how the way that went down. I was really kind of hoping that at least a few of the patients were going to be able to do something with that and make a little bit of money for themselves possibly and show their expertise. Because really what I was hoping for is these people come to the dispensaries and the dispensaries go, man, this is so good. How'd you like to be a part of this? And that would be how a lot of the patients would be able to enter the legal market.
And then that's where they came in right after all this, and that a lot of the patients were trying to make donations, say, hey, just, giving them samples of their stuff.
Yeah,
so
it just
try it,
Yeah, it just didn't roll the way I wanted it
unfortunately,
to.
it has to go all the way up through a dispensary before it can even come off and be tested by any of the employees of the MMEs legally. So
And for all our, bitching and moaning here. I just read something that in New York, which has a medical marijuana program, there's almost no availability. And so, yes, we are kind of over-regulated on this, and it is a challenge, but there's certainly no shortage of medicine in the state.
I'm happy. I'm so proud and happy that we've come so far so quickly, for sure.
And speaking of price, the flower prices, they're
falling through the floor.
Yeah, there's $200 ounces everywhere right now. You just got to look around.
I'm getting blasted with email and text message specials every day. $10 grams, $9, $8, $7.77 grams for the weekend special. Blah blah blah. All kinds of stuff.
And that's because we have all these grows coming online, and we have a great supply. And that's,
quality's starting to go up too.
That's another thing that we got to keep in mind. I'm still 100% for yes on 2, but when 2 passes and we bring that recreational market in, we're going to have a rise in the price of our medicine.
You're going to see
again.
what happened in Colorado, where December 31st of 2012, you had $25 an eighth medical marijuana that overnight morphed into $70 an eighth recreational marijuana.
So what? So be it.
Here,
And so let the free market dictate it. I'm good with that.
I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying it's going to happen.
And that's where we, as soon as we can make changes into this bill, we need to change that. Some of that tax money goes back into the medical marijuana program to help support that and bring the prices down on that end.
Currently, the tax structure on question 2, and boy, it's in small type, says that they're going to put on a 15% excise tax on wholesale marijuana sales to be paid by licensed cultivators. So the seller is going to be paying that. And the retail marijuana sales will be subject to standard state and local taxes, so 8 and change percent, just like any other tangible product. And then the taxes and fees will first be used to fund state and local implementation and enforcement of regulations. So the first money they're going to spend is going to be to hire the cops to come in and watch the agent.
That makes sense. The program should fund itself.
And then all remaining revenue will be deposited into the state distributive school account and used to support public K through 12 education. And this is largely how they are selling this to the public, because even a couple of years ago, the Nevada Retail Association did a survey, and they found by a 54 to 40 margin that people supported the passage of legalized cannabis if the proceeds were going to be used for education. But I think it was you who pointed out that the state can give with one hand and take away with the other.
He was the one who brought up that point to me, is that according to what you were telling me, Kurt, the state, even though it goes into this fund, they can choose to do whatever they want with that said fund,
they
correct?
can just redivert other money.
Right, so they can put a million in and take
the
a million out?
The general fund say they're writing this much into the budget from the general fund for education, and then this much comes from the cannabis thing. Well, now they just take a little bit out of what they were already giving them.
You sneaky bastards.
Because they don't need all of that, and they can put that money pretty much anywhere they want.
So if legalized cannabis were to generate in the state, let's say $30 million a year, and of that, 25 million were going into the educational budget, the legislature could just say, oh, well, here's this money we were going to give you guys, but now we can take this 25 million and
it's so difficult to stop that. How would we write that into legislation to make sure that it couldn't happen? You wouldn't. You can't.
Yeah,
especially
that's really
when
disheartening.
That's the game of politics. It's almost like the lobbyist, but
it's really disheartening and disappointing, because you feel like you want to make a positive change, and we're like, oh, we're going to put all this money into the schools, and then we have zero accountability for where it actually goes. We can't prove that it goes there.
Yep. With that, we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back with some more Nevada cannabis news.
Damn.
Nevada Pure is a premier, vertically integrated medical marijuana enterprise which offers top quality medical marijuana, great customer service, and a safe private environment. We carry a wide selection of medical cannabis strains. Our knowledgeable staff will assist you in finding the correct strain for your condition. Our trained professional staff can educate you on various strains for your condition, methods of consumption, responsible cannabis use, and the wellness benefits of cannabis. We aim to help patients achieve a better quality of life. Medical marijuana is a medicine, not an intoxicant. It's about a patient's well-being at Nevada Pure. From the moment you make an appointment with us, your care, health, and well-being is our priority. Nevada Pure is located at 4360 Boulder Highway, Las Vegas, Nevada. Check out their entire menu at www.nevadapure.com. From the soothing sounds of a water wall to the warmth, wood interior, and beautiful artwork, as soon as you enter Sahara Wellness, you are welcomed into a relaxing space where we strive to provide our patients with a healthy balance of mind, body, and spirit. That balance is achieved through a compassionate and knowledgeable staff who possesses both a passion for the medical cannabis industry as well as unrivaled dedication to assisting those in need of a natural method of pain relief. Our budtenders are available to assist patients in selecting cannabis-based medicine that best suits their needs from our selection of flower, waxes, CBD lotions, and delicious edibles. Sahara Wellness is located at 420 East Sahara Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada. Check out our entire menu at www.420sahara.com.
Attention medical marijuana patients. Do you know what your cannabis actually contains? Are there heavy metals, pesticides, or even mold? And what strength is it really? And is it really what you need? Well, the answers to these questions are simple. DigiPath Labs. DigiPath Labs is a Nevada state-approved medical marijuana testing facility whose scientists carefully test products for safety and potency, all within the state's rigorous mandate. You can buy with confidence and trust knowing DigiPath Labs has tested your medicine. If you're a licensed grower, dispenser, extractor, or edibles manufacturer in Nevada and want unparalleled customer service and consumer confidence, go to digipathlabs.com and find out what we can do for you. And as a patient, only go to dispensaries that carry the DigiPath Labs seal of approval. That's digipathlabs.com, DIGIPATH labs.com. Or call us at 702-209-2429. That's 702-209-2429.
Getting Legal offers an informative and simple way for you to get your marijuana card. Why come to Getting Legal to get your marijuana card? We have a 99% approval rating and the lowest price in town. Avoid legal problems. Getting Legal can get you legal fast. Ready for a new start? Come in now and get relief from your chronic conditions affecting your quality of life. Call Getting Legal today at 702-979-9999. That's 702-979-9999 or visit our website at gettinglegal.com to get your marijuana card today.
You're listening to the Weekend 702 Nevada Cannabis News Hour. Now, here again, the Weekend Radio Team.
Welcome back to the Nevada Cannabis News Hour, coming to you live from Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corp. So, we were just talking about question 2 and everything going on there.
Yes,
So-
we were, and the campaign is ramping up. I was on a campaign organizing call just this morning, and we're at the point where we are having weekly calls now to strategize and get the word out. And so with that, what is this initiative going to do? Well, at first, it's going to remove all criminal penalties for personal possession of under an ounce of cannabis or under an eighth ounce of concentrate for all adults, meaning 21 years or older. What it also does is adults will be able to purchase cannabis from licensed retail stores.
Yep.
Those who do not live within 25 miles of a retail marijuana store will be allowed to grow up to 6 marijuana plants in an enclosed locked area. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to get this question passed. Then, the second thing we have to do is we have to file an equal protection lawsuit that if they're letting people outside 25 miles grow it, then every other citizen who's living within this arbitrary exclusion zone should be able to grow
This
their
is
own.
the only state where they have that law. It's just nonsense.
Well,
And it needs a legal challenge.
No
but
doubt.
obviously we have
first.
to get it
Yeah.
passed
Yeah.
first, but then right away.
That went into effect in Arizona when they passed their laws, and they
Did it really?
They took it into legal, then got it removed. Yeah. Okay.
And so hopefully that's going to happen here. And it's much the same way that for medical cannabis users in 2013, when they passed the law, they put a sunset provision for growing as of April 1st, 2016. And then in the 2015 session, our friend Tick Segerblum got it pushed back, the sunset, to 2018. And he has been saying all along that he's hoping that in the next election they're just going to get rid of it entirely. But in politics, you have to get in what you can get past.
Yeah.
And so that's where he's at with that. With this, it will create a system of licensed marijuana retail stores, and it will be overseen by the Department of Taxation. So this is much like Colorado. Once they went from medical into rec, they gave it to the Department of Taxation, which just has is more set up for collecting this than the Division of Health. What the initiative will not do is it will not allow marijuana to be used in public. So no lighting up joints on the strip. You're just going to have to vape like everybody else.
No worries. I don't want to see people smoking joints on the strip. It's publicly offensive to people who are here with their families. If we want to be normal members of society, we have to try to blend in with them, and there's nothing wrong with medicating discreetly.
Absolutely nothing wrong with discretion.
Edibles and vape pens.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pretty much use them anywhere.
Understand that if this passes, it will not change the existing laws regarding driving under the influence. And this is another law then that we're going to have to get changed.
I have a question on
Sure.
that. Are recreational users going to be able to ride amusement park rides, surf, and water ski?
Yeah, you can't do that under the medical
Because as a
marijuana
medical
statute.
user, I'm not supposed
You're
to.
cautioned against it, yes, in the medical paperwork. Well, that's just part of the state covering its butt in trying not to get sued from some patient who goes and does that and has an adverse result.
I really like water skiing.
The problem, though, with the driving under the influence, as we know and as we've discussed before, is that for anyone who uses cannabis, even intermittently with a regular frequency, is going to be above the 2 nanogram limit that is currently in our state law. And we're going to have Senator David Parks on the show as a guest, and he had introduced a bill in 2013 and then reintroduced, I believe, in 2015, which would have raised that from 2 to 5 nanograms, which is still too low. So hopefully, if we can get this passed, we're going to be able to have not a per se limit that it's in your blood, so you're presumed to be high, but actual objective testing of the individual as to whether they're under the influence. And technology is moving forward with that. They have cheek swabs now that can determine active from inactive metabolites, whether you've smoked in the last 4 hours. So there's a lot that needs to be done even after this happens. It will not change employment policies. So if they say you can't smoke and can't test dirty, you won't have an appeal there. It doesn't change existing medical marijuana law, and it does not allow private unlicensed individuals to sell. So, it's not like it's going to be an open market for people. It's like the current medical marijuana law. It's going to be very structured because people out there who don't really know the weed are deathly afraid of it.
Yep, and there are, I'm sorry.
No.
We one more story we can cover before we end this update.
Okay.
About the Colorado State University studying marijuana legalization's impact on communities. Mm-hmm. So, did you have anything on
Well,
that?
actually, yeah, you've got something there, Perry.
Yeah, there's a thing. The Colorado State University in Pueblo will be receiving $270,000 in marijuana excise tax revenue for research following a unanimous vote Monday by the Pueblo County Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Sal Pace said $220,000 of it will go to medical marijuana research and $50,000 will be used for societal impact studies. There's been a lot of research on cannabis in general in the last 50 years, but
a
not
dearth of research.
There's not enough.
Yeah.
There needs to be more, and this kind of money is so desperately needed.
Yeah.
And
So
yet it's
desperately
small money, considering that Colorado took in $20+ million last year. You know, you're only talking about 1% of the tax revenue that they collected, but still, it's a step forward.
Well, on June 6th, Governor Hickenlooper signed a bill that would award $900,000 to the university. For them to take that much of that and put it to marijuana use, I mean, it's good that they know where the money came from, and at least they're trying.
They're certainly going in the right direction here.
And that's kind of money that we're hoping to see come out of the recreational end here into Nevada.
Oh, man, I
Money
think
like
we'll
that.
blow their numbers
Because
away.
I think our
Yes.
tourism will be much better than
And especially,
Colorado
the news
tourism.
was breaking that we're getting the NHL and things like that. Like, it's just going to drive their tourist numbers through the roof.
You mean
so.
Cedar Bloom Haze is going to blow away the Rocky Mountain High?
No doubt.
Probably. So, at that, we're kind of running low on time here. You want to check out our events. We don't have a whole lot on the calendar here. We're looking to book some new stuff up, so keep an eye out on our website, wecan702.org. We got our patients group, support group out in Pahrump on June 25th. That's a Saturday at 2 o'clock. And First Friday on July 1st, all new dope soaps coming out and stuff like that. Big shout out to Original Genius and Vegas Hat Pins for the new logo. Look for these hat pins coming out soon. We're putting them out. They're going to be at all. We're going to be at all of our events. So come on and get yourself a Vegas hat pin with WeCan 702 on it. And
We hope you enjoy these shows. We try to keep them informative. We try to keep them of interesting and you know, thoughtful conversation. Come on to our Facebook page. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about these topics. Suggest new
please.
topics. And be a part of this. You need to be part of this revolution. Get yourself out there registered to vote is a good first step.
thank you very much.